Shri Guru Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Jaya Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Bolo. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone all together, bolo bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna,
Good. Take the water. Haribo. So, welcome everyone. Now, next on the agenda, Madhavananda Prabhu will speak some Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha, this is what sustains us. This sustains us. It's rare to actually find a gathering where you can sit and hear Krishna Katha and chant Hare Krishna. So this is very special, very wonderful. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. He himself engaged in listening to Krishna Katha, and he also would speak topics about Krishna. And of course, he was always, kirtan was his main, that was the main thing on his menu, was chanting. So, we'll hear from Madhavananda Prabhu now, and after we'll have a little more kirtan at the end, before prasadam.
My Guru Maharaj, he spoke about the Braj Prema Dhara, or the river of love of Vrindavan. And that river of love has, like every river, has two sides. One is called Sambhog Tatta, and the other is Vipralamba Tatta, the embankment of union and the embankment of separation. And so in this material world, we're always cultivating feelings of separation. But I think that after today, it's going to be Dvigunita Vipralamba, or twice as much separation, because this is the last Sunday program we'll get to have with Agnidev Prabhu. It reminds me of a famous painting by, I think it's Michelangelo, The Last Supper. So let's take advantage of this while we can. Today I'd like to speak something to you about principles of community. But first I'd like to offer a few prayers. Gora Graganya Gana Gota Goloruharam Gauranga Gudatama Gopyara Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachira Jachia Dileka Kola Kahe Premananda Hemona Gauranga Hridaya Dariya Bola. Listen. Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Kaha Gaurangera Namare Bolo. Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Gera Namare Jejana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Yasyaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bhidana Parama Pumata Tasmai Jaganmangala Mangalaya Caitanya-charitra Namo Namaste. Caitanya-charitra Namo Namaste. Caitanya-charitra Namo Namaste. Madgavirapi Gopala Srikuryat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishi Yustat Priya Janaha. Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathabda Brajabala Bapahimam Vanchakopadarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I have a prayer to all of you. This is composed by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He says, Hey Bhakta Dwadayam Chanchad Valadi Rotivo Manak Prasadam Labatam Yasmad Vishishta Seva Natati. Oh dear devotees, hey Bhakta. This poor creature, speaking of myself, is standing outside by your door and wagging his tail and barking. So you please throw us a little bit of your remnants in the form of your mercy, that we can become a good dog and we can render some pleasing service to the Vaishnavas. So I'll try not to speak too fast today, because someone will get upset with me. It's translating into Russian, and I'm very nervous about that. So I want to read something to you from Srimad Bhagavatam, and we can just offer this little prayer too. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, text number 8. And this is the words of Lord Vishnu to the Prachetas after they've offered prayers to him. So please listen carefully. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Varam Vrinidvam Badram Vo Yuyam Me Nripanandanaha Soradaina Pritag Dharmas Tushto Ham Saridinava. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear sons of the King, I'm very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I'm so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me. It's really nice, isn't it? Let's repeat that. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear sons of the King, I'm very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I'm so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me. So Srila Prabhupada has given a short purport. Since the sons of King Prachanabharishat were all united in Krishna consciousness, the Lord was very pleased with them. Each and every one of the sons of King Prachanabharishat was an individual soul. It's nice, it's significant, I think, that Prabhupada mentions this point. They were an individual soul, but they were united in offering transcendental service to the Lord. The unity of the individual souls attempting to satisfy the Supreme Lord or rendering service to the Lord is real unity. In the material world, such unity is not possible. Even though people may officially unite, they all have different interests. In the United Nations, for instance, all the nations have particular national ambitions, and consequently, they cannot be united. Disunity between individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in a society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to their having different opinions and leaning toward material things. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There's only one goal: to serve Krishna to one's best ability. If there's some disagreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. Those who are actually engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be disunited in any circumstance. This makes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very happy and willing to award all kinds of benediction to his devotees, as indicated in this verse. We can see that the Lord is immediately prepared to award all benedictions to the sons of King Prachanabharishat. So, in this world, people want unity. And that's perhaps definitely one of the reasons why Srila Prabhupada created this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, so that we could have unity and that we could have community. But Prabhupada is saying here that even in the Society for Krishna Consciousness, there's sometimes disunity. And he says for two reasons, two very simple reasons. One is that two persons have a different vision of how to serve. Another reason he gives is because someone is leaning toward material things. So you can figure it out. And this is the purpose of Vedic literatures. Krishna in the Gita, he tells Arjuna everything. He says, then, now you decide what you want to do. Even Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he didn't say, look, Arjuna, I'm telling you this, you got to do what I say. But that's up to Arjuna. And all we can do is we can hear and we should contemplate and then decide for ourselves. But if there's some disunion amongst the devotees and they're quarreling, especially about mundane things, about politics or such things like that, I don't see how that's something transcendental. Srila Prabhupada here in Mayapur, he told the devotees that we want to have unity in diversity. And actually that diversity is the colorful feature of the unity. When you have a painting and there's only one color. I knew one artist who entered, they invited him, he's a famous artist. They invited him to take part in an art show. And his offering was a blank wall. That was his offering. And they decided to put a little plaque underneath it. This is the offering by such and such artist. And he became annoyed with him. He said, no, I didn't say that either. It's just that blank wall. So that's a little boring, isn't it? What do you see in just the white wall? Those variegated colors are what make up the whole portrait, what make up the whole picture. If everybody thought in the same way, it would be a pretty scary world. For those of you who know a little English literature, we would call that 1984. It's a very scary place where everybody is forced to try to think in the same way. That's not bhakti. Bhakti means there's individuality, but bhakti also means there's unity. There's unity in diversity. And that's an important quality. Just recently, we've been giving some talks from Srila Jiva Goswami's Gopal Champu. And there's a very nice example of this point in Gopal Champu, in the Uttarakhanda, the 9th chapter, where it's described how Nanda Maharaj returned to Vrindavan alone from Mathura. Krishna stayed behind. And what happened after that? Now, think of Krishna. Krishna, he's grown up as the son of Yashoda and Nanda. And he doesn't know this Devaki and Vasudeva. He was there for a few minutes as a baby, depending on which version you want to take. We won't go in that direction. But he was there for a few minutes as a baby. And now all of a sudden he's stuck with those people. And there's nobody around him other than Balaram who understands his feelings. And he doesn't know how to relate to them. Do I call them mom and dad and mata and bapa? How do I address them? What kind of relationship do I have with them? It was a little strange. And seeing that, Vasudeva and Devaki had a talk, and they decided we should bring Rohini here. Rohini, now she's one of the wives of Vasudeva. And she's close, naturally, with Devaki. But Rohini also knows Vrindavan. And she's the mother of Balaram. So they sent a letter to Vrindavan. And when that letter was read out, Rohini was standing there listening. And she became very confused. Part of her thought, this is the order of my husband. I have to follow the order of my husband. At the same time, she thought, I really want to see Krishna and Balaram. But at the same time, she couldn't tolerate to go. Because she thought, what will happen to Yashoda? Krishna and Balaram are not here now. And Yashoda is suffering so much in separation. I'm her best friend. And if I leave her now, how is she going to stay alive? Understanding the mind of Rohini, Yashoda then spoke up. And she said, you should understand that the Creator made one body, and then He broke that body into two with one life air. And that one body who became two, that's you and I. And there's no difference between us. I want to go and see Krishna, but I can't. I'm Durbhagya. I'm very unfortunate. So Rohini, you go. And I'll become so happy. I'll get pleasure by you going. She wasn't envious. Why do you get to go and I don't get to go? It's not fair. Rather, she's feeling very, very happy. This is the relationships of Vrindavan. These are the relationships of devotees. And so then they cooked so many preparations to send with Rohini to give to Krishna and Balaram. They sent many gifts. And just before Rohini was leaving, Yashoda began to cry. And she handed Rohini an envelope. And she said, when you get there, please give this letter to Devaki. Now you may be thinking there's some competition between Yashoda and Devaki. Now Devaki's got Yashoda's heart in the form of her son. Yashoda has this Sudha Vatsalya Priti, this pure parental love. And she has this intense mamata. Mamata means when someone considers the beloved to belong to them. It's my wife, my husband, my son. And Mother Yashoda has that intense mamata. So what was the letter that she wrote to Devaki? In that letter, she told Devaki, she said that actually, there's no difference between you and I. And the proof of that is that we have one son who's the same son, Krishna. Now, Yashoda could have said so many things. It's a long, complicated topic. We're not going to go there. But when Krishna was born, according to the Bhagavatam, the umbilical cord was cut, the cord that goes from the baby to the mother, and that was cut in Vrindavan. Krishna is the son of Mother Yashoda. And that's a long, complicated discussion. I won't go into that right now. But Yashoda, my point is that when she wrote this letter to Devaki, she could have used logic and reason. She could have said, look, we have photographs. Someone took a picture of the umbilical cord being cut. Krishna belongs to me. Don't think he's yours. We'll let you stay with him. He'll let you stay with you for a little while, but he's got to come back. She could have spoke like that, but she didn't, because Yashoda has this intense empathy also. And she understands that Rohini, although Rohini has a different mood, she sees Krishna in a different way, Yashoda has some concern for Devaki's feelings. And she understands that Devaki also loves Krishna so much. So although there's individuality there, there's unity in Krishna consciousness. She's not trying to argue by logic and reason, but she's operating on the platform of love and compassion. Now, Devaki also loves Krishna. And so she said something which must have been very hard to say. Krishna's also your son. We have this thing in common together. I'd like to read you a little something from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. This is from the Adikanda chapter 2. And in that section, it discusses about the situation in Navadvip prior to the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it said there that the devotees were all suffering like anything. Navakani Juga Dharma Krishnera Kirtana Dosha Bina Gunakaro Nakore Katana. All the people in Navadvip, they weren't interested in Krishna Katha. They just wanted to find fault with other people. Dosha binu guna karo nakoro katana. They never bothered to glorify anyone else. They didn't do kirtan. They were singing and dancing with mundane instruments. They were just celebrating people's birthdays and their weddings. And the devotees were full of anxiety. And they were praying, oh Krishna, please do something. But it's very interesting to me to note that they didn't try to take matters in their own hands. They felt powerless. Everybody was against them. What could they do? Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation like that. And many of us may be in that situation today. That I can't control things, I'm being forced to do in a certain way. I can't go out and preach, I can't speak anything to anybody else. What can I do? But the devotees at that time, they didn't feel frustrated. They felt deep, deep anxiety. Vrindavan Das Thakur says they were coming together every day. And they were hearing Krishna Katha. And they were doing kirtan. And he says they were crying and crying for the benefit of those foolish conditioned souls who weren't interested in Krishna consciousness. Now they could have gone out on the street. They could have grabbed people by the throat and said, look buddy, you got to chant, man. They could have gone and tried to have a fight with Nawab Hussain Shah and told him, look, you got to make Krishna consciousness available for everyone. But they felt incapable of that. And this is the nature of a devotee. A devotee lives in reality. Sometimes I hear people say, but Arjun, he went and he fought against the demons, and we should also fight against the demons. Yes, Arjun did. But I have to honestly say for myself, I'm not Arjun. And I don't have the potency that he had. Some other people say, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he chastised the miscreants. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a Mahajan, a Charja, and a high court judge. I don't have a position like that. And so a person, a devotee, is someone who lives in reality and understands his position and acts accordingly. And if Guru and Krishna tell them, hey, you go and you fight, as Krishna told Arjuna, nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin, you go, kill them all, you're doing it on my behalf, then you must. And devotees also can't tolerate when there's some injustice. But what is the method of your solution? That's the question. According to the guna that someone has, they'll take shelter of a corresponding solution. If someone is in the mode of ignorance, tamagun, then generally they see a solution as fighting. I'm going to go and I'm going to punch the guy in the nose. We're going to have a revolution. I'm going to cut off their head. And that's the solution. That's just the way they think. They can't help it. And that's not necessarily bad. That's just the way it is. If someone's in Rajagun, then their solution will be money. We should collect more money, and then we can build things, and it'll solve all the problems. If we just have enough money, it'll solve all the problems. Or someone in Rajagun may think that management is very important. And if we just have good management, that'll solve all the problems. People think like that. And then there's Sattva Gun. If someone's in Sattva Gun, they think we need education. And if there's good education, there's good discussion. We have Vada discussion. There's 3 types of discussions. Vada, Jalpa, and Vitanda. That's a whole nother long discussion. Discussions in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. If we have Vada discussions in the mode of goodness, that'll solve the problem. That's a third solution. But there's a 4th type of person. And he's Vishuddha Sattva. This is the devotee. And what is his solution? As Srila Prabhupada here in Mayapur went before the GBC. Prabhupada wasn't going to all the GBC meetings at that time. But one day he walked into the GBC meeting and Prabhupada made an announcement. And this is what he told them. This chanting should go on. Instead of meetings, resolutions, dissolutions, revolutions, and no solutions, there should be chanting. This is the Hare Krishna movement. And this is the solution that Srila Prabhupada came to give. This is the most powerful solution. And therefore, Narottam Das Thakur in one song, he says, don't pay attention to the karmis, or the gyanis, or the micha bhaktas, the false devotees. Just do your bhajan, because that bhajan is the most powerful thing. And if we do that bhajan, then everything will be solved. So these devotees in Navadvip, at the time of Advaitacharya, with Advaitacharya, they were coming together every day and doing kirtan. There was unity. There was also diversity. Some of them were artists. Some of them were growing vegetables and things. Some of them were Brahmins. There were different occupations and different mentalities. But they were one in Krishna consciousness. And they were coming together and they were doing kirtan together. This kirtan and this Krishna Katha, this creates community. Some years ago, we were in Odessa. Odessa on the Black Sea. I'm from Odessa on the shore of the sea. And we went to Odessa on the shore of the Black Sea in Ukraine. And we gave some talk there in the request of the devotees. And I was telling them how you should learn to love the devotees. And there was one brahmachari friend of mine who was sitting in the front row. And when I finished the class, his arm shot up. And he said, Prabhuji, this is wrong. He said, there's no such thing as love in the material world. And indeed, Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter like that to one lady. And he said practically those exact words. There's no such thing as love in the material world. He was challenging me like that. And I agreed with him. I said, yes, you're right. But we don't want to live in the material world. We want to live in the spiritual world. And that's why Srila Prabhupada created these temples. In one lecture in 1968 in Los Angeles, Srila Prabhupada, he said, just as we love Krishna, we must also learn to love the devotees. He said, this is our society, to learn to love the devotees. But it sounds really nice, doesn't it? But it's really not always so easy, is it? Because there's so much diversity. And if we focus on the material side of things, and we demand that everybody have even the same philosophical understanding that I do about the fall of the jiva, or about Lady Diksha Gurus, or about innumerable different things people find a quarrel about, then there'll never be unity. But there's unity in kirtan, there's unity in Krishna Katha. And we can consider, even within Krishna Katha, there's a little, sometimes, difference. In the Madhya Lila chapter 13 of Caitanya-charitamrita, the word sampradaya is used almost 20 times. How is it used? That's the section speaking about the Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. And how is the word sampradaya used so many times? It's used to describe the followers of Advaita Acharya, the followers of the devotee Mukunda, the followers of Srivas Thakur, the followers of Gadadhar Pandit, the followers of Nityananda Prabhu. The word sampradaya is used again and again. Now, that may sound a little confusing. You may raise your hand. Excuse me, I thought we were all the Gaudiya Sampradaya, right? What is all this sampradaya used in so many different ways? Why is that word used in that way? It has a very deep purport. They're all the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Chori ke mahanta mili, koraye kirtana keli, satta sampradaya gaya geet. There's one song, I think it was the author was Puru Das, that he wrote one Pajavali Kirtan where he says, Chodi ke mahanta mili, koraye kirtana keli, satta sampradaya gaya geet. This is the Kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chodi ke mahanta mili, on all four directions, all the Mahants were coming. And koraye kirtana keli, they were all doing Kirtan together and dancing. Satta sampradaya gaya geet, and 100 different sampradayas were all singing together. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. We're the Chaitanya Sampradaya, we're the Gaudiya Sampradaya, but we're also Satta Sampradaya gaya geet. 100 sampradayas coming together, and we see this in our society. Some devotees, they like to hear from Srila Jayapataka Maharaj, and some devotees like to hear from Naranja Maharaj, some devotees like to hear from Gorgovinda Maharaj, or this person or that person. Kirtan is something you can do. There was a video I saw on YouTube some time back of the New York Harinam, and they were doing nice kirtans, really going really good. A few people were dancing, and all of a sudden some Hasidic Jew showed up with his hair kind of coming down like this and a funny hat and the outfit like that, all dressed in black. And he was like, and after a little while, he started dancing with the devotees. And a little while later, you saw some guy who looks like he came out of a National Geographic article about Saudi Arabia or something. And he's a Muslim, dressed in traditional Muslim garb. And anyway, to get to the short part of the story, at the end of the you see those two, that Hasidic Jew and that Muslim, dancing like anything, like madmen in the kirtan. That's kirtan. Everyone can come together. But as soon as you start having philosophy, then it's a problem, right? But that philosophy is important. That philosophy is very important. But what's needed, why is it Satta Sampradaya, so many different Sampradayas? Why is the word Sampradaya used so many times in Chaitanya-charitamrita? Because they had little differences of opinion. There was a little different mood amongst the followers of Advaita Acharya and the followers of Nityananda Prabhu. Sometimes the followers of Advaita Acharya were saying, our Advaita, he's actually Bhagavan, and your Nityananda, he's just some crazy guy, doesn't even know how to put on clothes. You should come to our group. Some neophyte followers said like that. But they were coming together in the kirtan, and they were one. This is unity and diversity. And this is how to create community. This is Srila Prabhupada's vision. Not through psychology, not through management, not through making money, not through warfare. We'll just defeat everybody and force everybody to be friends, right? Or legislation. We've now passed a rule. You all have to be friends. I remember after my Guru Maharaj left this world, Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Maharaj, there was a meeting in Bhubaneswar. I think it was Guru Maharaj's Vyas Puja or disappearance or something. And after he'd left, there was a number of fissions and groups, and devotees were quarreling. And one senior godbrother, who was very well-meaning, he stood up on the stage and he said, look, we should all come together. We should all love each other. Sounded really good. He said, now I want everybody here to stand up and turn to the person next to you and tell them, I love you, and give them a hug. I remember a few of us kind of rolling our eyes, and anyway, we did that, I love you, and we gave, but it didn't work. I'm sorry to say, it didn't work. It sounded really good, but it didn't work. Unity comes about when there's like-mindedness. And that like-mindedness comes when we have Krishna Katha. Now, some people just can't deal with your kind of Krishna Katha. Some people, they like Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj. And he's a professor in biology or something, and he's a great scientist, and he knows Sanskrit, and he likes to speak in a certain way. And some devotees like Indradyumna Maharaj, who's a wonderful Vaishnava, who speaks in a very simple way, and likes to tell stories for the children. You can't say that one is better than the other. Both are required. Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha, when he speaks about this Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha sequence, which Rupa Goswami speaks of in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says that in the beginning, we hear from anyone and everyone. It's like Kitri. We go to Bhagavatam class, and today Prabhuji is speaking, and tomorrow it's another devotee, and like that. But he says, but after some time, we develop some feelings. We like to hear from a particular person because we want to capture their mood. We want to have what they have. And so we start becoming more exclusive for that person. And we still may go to Bhagavatam class, because this Bhagavatam class is what gives unity in our society. But it's sometimes a little difficult in the Bhagavatam class, because some devotees, they have some passion about a certain thing. They want to speak about Raganuga Bhakti. And someone else says, whoa, no, we should speak about Vanashram Dharma. And someone else says, all the ladies should be guru. And someone else says, no, all the ladies should shut up and cover their heads and stand in the back. And there's some quarrel like that. But nevertheless, there are principles that we can all agree on. Krishna's God. Mother Yashoda is there. Krishna loves Mother Yashoda, and Vrindavan is there. And we can read Prabhupada's books, and it will create some unity. But as we progress a little further, contrary to what some people like to propagate, some people like to propagate that when you become really advanced, you stop thinking. And you just kind of merge with the institution, and you just do what you're told, and you become very obedient. And that's kind of handy, especially if you're a manager. But that's actually not bhakti. It's not that when I joined the Hare Krishna movement, I got Kaivalya Mukti, and now I am ISKCON, whatever that may be. But as we progress further in bhakti, we become more and more individuals. We become different colored flowers in the garden of Vrindavan for the pleasure of Krishna. And there's different colors and different shapes and different forms and different sizes. And that variegatedness is wanted. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada wrote a famous letter to Kurandar. We said that this Krishna consciousness movement is all about individuality. It's required. We must become individuals. But the problem is, in the beginning, I don't even know how to clean myself after I use the bathroom. I don't know which hand to eat with. And this is all really confusing. My wife was giving a class recently to some ladies, and they told her that someone told you should speak to them how to be Krishna conscious at home because they can't understand. The only way to be Krishna conscious is if you're in the temple, because Maya is just too strong. It's just too hard outside of the temple. And that's there. That was there especially in the 60s and the 70s. But now we're in a different era. And we should learn to be Krishna conscious in our homes. We should come together in association like this with like-minded devotees who have a similar mood. And if we do that, then we can go deeper in bhakti. The general classes are needed. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would give speeches sometimes on the platform before thousands of people. But he also said in one letter that this platform preaching, you can't help people very much. It's just general for everyone. And if you really want to go deep in bhakti, it's required that you have a more intimate sangha. So we have two things. We have kirtan and we have Krishna katha. I find it interesting that in our society today, kirtan's very much appreciated. But Krishna katha, we have a little doubt about that. It reminds me, I'll tell you a true story. We went to one temple in Europe some years ago to give some class. I'd never been there before. And they were very nice. They greeted us with kirtan outside, and they brought us inside this huge temple room, which is probably, my God, maybe at least probably 20 times bigger than this room. Big, big temple room. And there was about 10 devotees there, maybe 20. And the temple president, whoever, began by apologizing to me. I'm really sorry. There's hardly anybody here. It used to be a lot of devotees. We used to have the whole place packed. And so I said something to them which was a little unpalatable. I'm just a new person there. But I'm a troublemaker by nature, don't mind. And I told them, I said, so I understand, it used to be this whole place was packed. Why isn't it now? If you're having Krishna katha, and Krishna katha is really nice, it's really sweet, why aren't everybody coming? They became a little confused. They're not used to someone asking questions, challenging questions especially like that. So everybody was quiet for a moment. And finally, I think the temple president, someone raised their hand and said, Prabhu, they're all in Maya. And I said, no, I don't accept that. I don't believe they're all in Maya. Some of them might be more Krishna conscious than me. I don't know what they're all doing in their homes. And they gave different answers, and one by one I dismissed their answers. And I said, if Krishna katha, if Krishna is all attractive, and Krishna katha is all attractive, why don't they want to come? And I said, I'll tell you the reason. It's an unpalatable truth. Because you were using Krishna katha for something other than Krishna katha. You were using it to control people, or to get money, to become popular. You weren't doing Krishna katha just for the sake of Krishna katha. And that creates disunity. Another temple that I belonged to, I won't say where, many years ago, I was running a preaching center near a university, and once a week we would come to the big temple in the city. And the temple president would give class every day, every week on that day. And he would always do the same thing. He would sit down and sing Jai Radha Madhav, read Prabhupada's translation and verse purport in the Bhagavatam. And then the next thing he would do is he would pull out the attendance sheet for that week. And he would read it off and say, so-and-so, look, you only went to Mangal Artik 2 times this week. What's going on? Really in Maya. And he would read off every devotee's attendance in the morning program. And then he would pull out another sheet, which is the Sankirtan scores. And he'd say, so-and-so, you pledged to give $1,000 a week, and this week you only gave $400. What's going on? And I remember, I'm sorry to say, I hated those programs. Because there was no unity, and it wasn't Bhagavatam class. It was something else. So Srila Prabhupada says here in his purport, the 2 causes for disunity amongst the devotees. There's no disunity when everyone wants to be Krishna conscious. But that disunity may come for one of 2 reasons. One, because there's difference in understanding how to serve. And then Prabhupada says, but that's actually not disunity. We can accommodate that, just as Yashoda can accommodate Devaki. Just as Yashoda can accommodate Rohini going to Mathura and seeing Krishna and she can't go. No problem. The Prabhupada says the other cause for disunity is when we're in material consciousness. This is the real problem. The only solution, people are fighting like anything over the elections in America right now. And everybody would like a solution, wouldn't it? It'd be good to have a solution. You're not going to solve the problem by money. You're not going to solve the problem by fighting, although some people think that's the fact. You're not going to solve it by debates. The only possible hope to solve that dilemma and the other dilemmas, the unlimited dilemmas in this material world, is that there's a change in consciousness. If people come to a higher level of consciousness, and to be very frank, any other solution is just bogus. Any other solution, the Bhagavatam says, Pashyat Paka Vipariyasam, 11th canto says, that your so-called material solutions only create more problems. That's all that'll happen. It'll create some other problems. The only real solution is Krishna consciousness. And yes, if you are Arjun, if you're Thakur Bhaktivinoda, or if you have been appointed by your guru to be temple president or have some position, then you should fight. That's your job. But if you haven't been, don't worry, you have the most powerful weapon to change the world, which is Krishna consciousness. I did book distribution for many years on the streets in America. And for those of you who've done some preaching on the street, I'd like you just to imagine a scenario. You're going to someone on the street and you meet a nice person, you tell them, hey, you should come to our temple. You know, our temple can hold 10,000 people at one time. Now imagine in your heart and mind the look on the person's face and their kind of response. I don't know what that will be. You have to look yourself in your own heart. Now you go on to the next person and they're also interested and you tell them, you should come. We really believe in community. We really believe in intimate community. And imagine in your heart and mind what kind of response will come there. So this is the purpose of this Krishna conscious movement. We have to have association. It's needed. Right? I gave a Zoom class last night for the devotees in the Bhakti Center in New York, and there was like, oh my God, I don't know, 10 different temples that were plugged in. There's hundreds of devotees watching. And it was nice, and everybody was very happy. But I told them, it's not the same. If you try to tell me that it's the same, I can associate with devotees through Facebook, through Zoom, okay, you want to tell me, that's all right. Here's my challenge for you. When Krishna goes to Mathura and the gopis are crying in separation, you go to the gopis and tell them, don't worry, it's okay. Krishna's on Facebook. He's going to do a Zoom talk tonight and you can be with him. Are the gopis going to be satisfied? No. They'll never be satisfied with that. In Gopal Champu, Jiva Goswami gives a beautiful description of Vrindavan and how the residents there were unhappy prior to the appearance of Krishna. And then something wonderful happened. Balaram appeared. And things were better. But still, there was something missing. There was something a little bit wrong. And Balaram himself, the little boy, the little baby, everybody loves him. He's a cynosure of everyone's eyes and attention. But Balaram wasn't completely happy, that little baby, except for the times when he would climb onto the lap of Mother Yashoda, who happened to be pregnant with Krishna. And when Balaram climbed in the lap of Mother Yashoda, then he began to smile very big. And he became very happy. So in the same way, during this pandemic, we can have Zoom classes. We can come together in little programs like this. But there's something missing. We'd like to be able to come together in a big festival. I'd like to give a hug to the devotees. I'd like to sit down and take prasadam freely with the devotees. So we can think those dirty bastards in the government, they're doing this thing and that thing, and maybe that's true. I don't know. That's for you to decide. But from my side, I think, well, I can't do anything about it. like the devotees in Navadvip, who were coming together and they were crying for the deliverance of the residents of Navadvip. And Vrindavan Das Thakur says their feelings became so intense that they stopped eating. And they were just crying and crying, please help them, help them. And that kirtan, where they felt powerless to do anything, but they were crying and crying, that kirtan first brought Vishvarup, the manifestation of Balaram, who's Adi Guru. And he started coming to their Sangha. And then after some time, another person appeared in Navadvip, the son of Mother Sachi, the younger son, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in response to that kirtan. Don't underestimate kirtan. Don't underestimate Krishna Katha. This Krishna Katha will create love amongst the devotees. In the Sattvata Tantra, it's described, Hari Lila Sutochara, Pareshi Satatam Tve Karya Pritastava Harir Yata Bhakti Nanashyati. If you want to protect your bhakti, if you want to protect the bhakti of your sangha, of your society, then here's what you do. Hari Lila Sutochara. You come together and hear Krishna Katha. And by coming together, you'll develop love for the devotees. You'll develop real love for the devotees. When we come together and we hear and chant about Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book, he says, this is the purpose of this Krishna consciousness movement, to bring together the devotees for Krishna Katha. I'd like to tell you a story from the life of Srila Ramanujacharya. He had one disciple, his name was Lalacharya. And Ramanuja once brought Lalacharya to him. He said, Lalacharya, for your benefit, I have an instruction for you. I want you to love the devotees millions of times more than you love the Lord. That was his instruction. And Lalacharya said, Guru Maharaj, I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's not possible. Okay. Here's what you do then. You should treat all the devotees just like they're as good as your Guru Maharaj. Lalacharya said, Guru Maharaj, I'm sorry, I can't do that either. Ramanuja just said, okay, you're being honest. You're being straightforward. No problem. Then you should love the devotees in the same way that you love your brother. Lalacharya said, yes, Guru Maharaj, I can do that. A few days later, Lalacharya's wife had gone to the bank of the Kaveri River to wash some clothes. And when she went there, she saw a corpse, a dead body. It had been washed ashore there. And that dead body had some kunti mala, some tulsi beads around the neck. And there was some tilak on the dead body. She went home and she informed her husband, I saw a dead devotee today. And when Lalacharya heard that, remembering instruction from his Guru Maharaj, Lalacharya, who was very simple, very sincere, he started crying. My brother died. My brother died. He had so much devotion for his Guru Maharaj. He could accept that instruction. He immediately arranged for palanquin and a kirtan party, and they went and they got the dead body, and they put it on the palanquin, and he took it to the smasana, the cremation grounds. And doing all the rituals and things, they burned the body. And then Lalacharya sent an invitation out to all the Brahmins in the village. He told them, my brother died. We burned his body. And now we're going to do some ceremony. We want all of you to come to take prasadam. Now the Brahmins in that village were a little smarta. Not smarter, but smarta. And they thought, what is this? This guy's nuts. We heard about this, some dead body they found. Who knows what caste he came from? Who knows how elevated a person he was? Maybe he was a murderer or who knows what. He found this dead body because it's got Kunti Mala and Tilak on it. He acts in such a sentimental way. And now he wants us to go to his house to eat that food, which he's calling it prasadam, to honor his brother. It's crazy. And so they were laughing and making fun of Lalacharya. And Lalacharya, he felt very hurt and very sad. So he went to see his Guru Maharaj. He said, Guru Maharaj, my brother died. You told me the Vaishnavas, I should love them like my brother. Some Vaishnav died. I don't know who it was. And now I'm wanting to ask all the Vaishnav, all the Brahmins to come for some Shrad ceremony, to feed them prasadam, and they won't come. And Ramanuja, he told them, it's okay. Don't worry, everything will be all right. And then Ramanuja acted in a little strange way. Started looking up in the sky. And he looked back at Lalacharya. He said, it's okay, I want you to go to your home and you cook. And you offer the bhoga, you make prasadam, and some guests will come. Don't worry. Yes, Guru Maharaj. Lalacharya had full faith in his Guru Maharaj. We might say, but Guru Maharaj, they were all laughing at me, they're not going to come. But no, Lalacharya had full faith in the words of his Guru. He went home and he started cooking. And a little later, there was a group of Brahmins, very effulgent Brahmins, who happened to come to that village, and they said, we're looking for someone's house named Lalacharya. Do you know who he is? People said, yeah, we know him. We heard that his brother died, and he invited us for prasadam. And so the village Brahmins were looking at them. They were a little envious. And they said, well, yeah, Lalacharya lives over there. They gave him directions. And then they spoke among themselves in a whispering kind of way. And they said, this is what we're going to do. We're all going to sit outside of Lalacharya's house. And after those Brahmins eat that food, fill their bellies up with that food, and they come out of the house, then we're all going to make fun of them and laugh at them. Got it? All right. That's the deal. And so those Brahmins, then they went and knocked on the door. Lalacharya said, oh, these must be the guests that my Guru Maharaj told were going to come. He went to the door, and those effulgent Brahmins were standing and said, are you Lalacharya? Yes. Your Guru Maharaj told us we should come. You were going to feed us? Yes, please come in. I'm waiting for you. He sat them all down. He gave them nice banana leaves. He served them all prasadam. Lalacharya began to cry. Thank you so much for coming and respecting my brother like this. And he was serving them prasadam with so much sincerity and love. And then an amazing thing happened. Those Brahmins became pleased with Lalacharya. And something happened. They manifested their real form. They all had 4 arms. They were residents of Vaikuntha, who had been called by Ramanuja to come down. And when he saw that, Lalacharya really began to cry. Thank you so much. You came. Thank you. He's offering obeisances to them again and again. Those 4 arms disappeared and they became 2-armed again. They thanked Lalacharya. Nice prasadam. Thank you very much. All glories to your brother. And they came out of the house, and all those envious Brahmins were waiting out there to make fun of them, right? And an amazing thing happened. Those Brahmins started walking, but as they were walking, they started going up in the air, like there were steps, but there's no steps. They just started going up in the air. And those envious Brahmins are watching this, and as we would say in America, they had an attitude adjustment. They realized we kind of blew it, kind of made a big mistake. And they went to Lalacharya. We're really, really sorry. You got any prasadam left? All glories to your brother. They spoke like that. And in this way, we can understand something about the glories of serving the Vaishnavas. And in the Prapanamrita, Ramanuja Acharya, he describes Vaishnavana manushtane nopayamatim unayet upamayeva satatam unayet sumahamahan Don't consider Vaishnav Seva as the means to an end. In other words, don't think that if I do Vaishnav Seva, if I serve the devotees, that it's going to be good for me. I'm going to get something from it. Ramanuja says, if you think like that, you've misunderstood. Vaishnav Seva is not the means to the end. Rather, Vaishnav Seva is the goal. Vaishnav Seva is the ultimate thing. To be able to come together and love the Vaishnavas, like Mother Yashoda loves Rohini, even though Rohini's going without her to Mathura. Like Mother Yashoda loves Devaki. And there's oneness in Krishna consciousness. There's oneness in the heart. And this was Srila Prabhupada's desire. In the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, in one purport, Prabhupada says, the purpose of this Krishna consciousness movement is to create a society free from envy. But how can we do that? Hari lila sutochara pareshu satatam tvaya karya pritistavaharya yata bhakti nanashiti. The Sattva Tantra says we should learn to love devotees by Krishna Katha. And kirtan is also good. But what is the substance of your kirtan? What kind of kirtan are we doing? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said sometimes some people are doing Maya kirtan. Agnidev Rrabhu was telling me a story, I think last week, about a kirtan competition in 1977, here in Mayapur, where so many groups were coming, outside people, and some of them were crying and rolling on the ground. And Prabhupada said, stop it. You're doing kirtan. But what kind of kirtan? Prabhupada said, they're just calling out, feed my belly, feed my belly. That was their kirtan. Or we all have seen sometimes a brahmachari doing kirtan, and he's singing really nice, and sometimes he's kind of looking in the back of the room. Are the girls watching? Does he see what a good kirtan leader I'm doing? That's not kirtan. That's not Krishna Katha if you're doing Krishna Katha to get money or to become famous. Rather, you're subtly spoiling everything. You'll spoil this movement. It's a simple movement. You don't have to be a big Paramahamsa. Rather, it's described in the 3rd canto of the Bhagavatam. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hrikkana rasayana kata. It says, Josnat ashapa varga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. That this is the medicine, Rasayana kata. This kata will heal all of our problems. It'll heal the problems of society. It'll solve all the problems. But that kata should be satam prasangam. We should hear from the sat mukh, the lotus mouth of pure devotees. So then you may be wondering, what is this guy doing sitting here and speaking to us? That's an honest question. I don't mind. Another meaning of satam prasangam is, one meaning is we hear from a pure devotee. Another meaning is, though, that we hear pure Krishna Katha. We just repeat what we've heard, as Srila Prabhupada told the devotees over and over and over again. We want to hear from an advanced Vaishnava, but we want to hear pure Krishna Katha. What's the value of going and associating with a pure Vaishnava if he just tells you about the elections in America? I want to hear about the Bhagavatam from him. Another question comes. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes in his commentary in this verse, what is a necessity, it's a little technical, but it's an interesting point, of the prefix pra before the word sangha in this verse? Why don't you just say satam sangha? Why satam prasanga? What is satam sangha and what is satam prasanga? Satam sangha means the 6th canto Bhagavatam says there that it means you're honest. You're a good person. You're a good husband, good wife. You go to the temple regularly. You chant japa. You behave in a good way. That's satam sangha. Being a good person. But what is satam prasangam? That prasanga kata, Vishnu says it means something more. It means directly hearing about Krishna and the pastimes of Krishna. Not just talking to all of you about management or about psychiatry or this or that, which may be valid things. We need good management. Even devotees sometimes need to see a psychiatrist. We have our problems in that. But the ultimate solution is Krishna Katha. This is the solution for everything. And therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said once that Krishna is none different from the holy name. But just as Krishna, we don't want to see him alone. We want to see him with Radharani. He says Radharani has manifested in the form of Krishna Katha. And we don't have one without the other. Both are required. Traditionally, Srila Prabhupada, he would do kirtan, and then he would speak, and he would do kirtan, a sandwich. The first kirtan, it opens your heart, and it purifies. It gives you a little bit of a brain so that you can hear Krishna Katha. And then you hear the Krishna Katha, and that should give you some substance to do kirtan with. We hear about the feelings of Yashoda and Rohini, and then we do the last kirtan. Those feelings come to us, and they can be expressed in that kirtan. So kirtan is everything. But this Krishna Katha also should go along with it. And by doing these two things together, we can create community. I want to finish by quoting a secular source. I'm sorry, we've quoted so much Shastra, but now we'll say something a little mundane. You tell me it's mundane at the end. We'll see. There's a lady, her name is Diana Leaf Christian. She's a sociologist something. She's probably the world's foremost authority in community building and that. And I've read some of her books. She also likes the devotees. She's a Christian, but she's come to our center, our farm in Sweden, and given some talks there. She gives lectures about community. Now, she says that to have a healthy, proper community, 3 things are required. This is her study throughout history, by studying different cultures all over the world, different histories. 3 things are required. 1 is glue that binds everybody together. What is that glue? We're going to come back to that. Second thing is economic basis. It's really important. You have to have some way for the community to make money. Very important thing. Devotees need to have some financial basis. Third thing, you need to have good management. And good management means also conflict resolution, some kind of court system or something. But these 3 things must be there, all 3. And even if you have good money and good conflict resolution and management, if you don't have glue, your community won't work. Now this lady, she's not a devotee, she's a Christian, she's something of a sociologist. She says there's 4 types of glue. And this is based on her study of history and cultures all over the world. What are those 4 types of glue? I'm not making this up, this is from her. First type of glue is you should eat together. And the more that you have your meals together, the more you bind as a community. This is why your mother used to tell you to come to the dinner table with the family, because that keeps the family together. We see the Amish in America. I've seen photographs. They have huge tables where 100 people can sit. And for their festivals and once a week or so programs, they all come together and they eat, because that builds community. And need I say anything more about prasadam? We know how prasadam brings devotees together. The second principle, she said historically and throughout all cultures in the world, which creates and nourishes community, which is a glue which binds everybody together, is storytelling. And every community traditionally has that. In Orissa, we go to the small villages, they have what they call a Bhagavat Tungi. And it's traditionally a small house or mud hut where everybody would come together in the evenings and hear Srimad Bhagavatam or hear Mahabharata or something. And that would bind the community together by hearing stories like that. Storytelling is very, very important. Krishna Katha is very important. The third element which binds communities together and is found in every community throughout the world, throughout history, is you should sing together. And the more they sing together, the more they bind together. And the fourth element is you should dance together. And the more you dance together, the more you bind together. So this is from a secular source, but I think this is right up our alley. These are the 4 principles of this Krishna consciousness movement. To take prasadam together, to have Krishna Katha, to do kirtan, and to dance together. And even the non-devotees are saying that if we do these things, we'll create community. Not through management, not through money, not through psychiatry or through this or that, but we'll have unity in diversity when the unity is focused on Krishna consciousness. So I want to stop there. I don't know what time it is. I'm a little nervous, and maybe I've gone way over. It's 1 o'clock. Can we have just a little bit? The Bhagavatam speaks about Krishna Katha, and the word used is paraspara, 11th canto. Krishna tells Uddhava, parasparanu katanam pavanam bhagavad, that Krishna Katha is meant to be exchanged. It's not a lecture in the university. It's not a sermon in the church. It's not a commercial on the television. But Krishna Katha, there should be some back and forth. So I want to just ask the devotees if there's any reflections, any thoughts about what we shared. Prabhuji, can you give him a mic? It's a little hard to hear with our friends next door over here. Not working?
I can speak loud.
Yeah, just yell. Okay.
So you made this point, really nice point about, you gave this example, you went somewhere and speaking Harikatha for the sake of speaking Harikatha, and like if you're doing it for some different motivation, like for money or for power or for control, it's not Harikatha. So I was kind of, when you said this, it really stood out to me, and I was reflecting on it, like the motivation, me personally, like if I have to speak to some friends or like some contacts or whatever, my personal motivation for Harikatha. And I was just wondering, am I speaking, like preaching, like with pure intention? And it would be nice to hear you maybe speak more on this point, because I was thinking like sometimes, I don't know if I'm speaking like to people about Krishna with like wanting to just glorify Krishna, but definitely I feel that many times I'm speaking to like my contacts and my friends back home, because I genuinely do want them to get it, but I don't know if it's like I'm really purely glorifying Krishna, you know. So maybe you can explain.
Yeah. Well, there's power in repeating the words of the pure devotee. There's power in repeating Shastra, and we should do that. That's our job. My Guru Maharaj called that the kirtan of the disciple. He said, you hear from Sadguru. And then afterwards, Sadguru says, now you speak. And he said, that kirtan of the disciple is another name for shravan, for hearing. Because when we're doing it, I'm actually hearing. I can go out on the street and tell someone, as we have many times, hey man, you're not your body. And some people, when they hear that, they go, oh my God, that's amazing. And sometimes they become devotees. Now, I shouldn't be proud. That phrase, you're not your body, doesn't belong to me. That's from Srila Prabhupada. But because I repeated it, there was some purity there. Now, I shouldn't think that there's no difference between my speaking and Srila Prabhupada speaking. Even if you repeat. I have a friend who's in San Diego. He once memorized an entire lecture of Srila Prabhupada. The whole, like a half an hour lecture, every word. And then when he had to give class, he sat down and just repeated the whole lecture. People were really impressed. Wow, that's really good, you know. But is that the same as Srila Prabhupada? No, it's not the same. And we should understand, I'm not a pure devotee. We should understand our position. But let me repeat what I've heard from the authority. And by repeating that, there's some potency. But still, it's not that maybe I can repeat really nicely. Maybe I've memorized the whole lecture. Maybe I've memorized the whole books. But it's not enough if I'm not a pure devotee. We still want to bring someone to Krishna's pure devotee. And not just advertise, I have a whole bunch of information I've collected. But what's in your heart? And we should be honest about that. And repeat. Is that helpful? It's a big topic, and we could speak about it for a long time. But thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else have any reflection, like to share? Any thoughts? Something you liked? Prabhuji?
You mentioned about all problems can be solved, and we did mention COVID-19 as well. There's, I don't know if you know the story, but in Calcutta when Papa was a little boy, there was a plague and so many people were dying. There was a lot of people dying. And so one sadhu began a Saturday party and just continuously going around Calcutta chanting all day, every day. And within a very short time, it was gone.
So, can everybody hear that point? It's made very nice point. Just as a footnote for that, for discussion, and you don't have to agree with me, but this is a footnote for discussion. Some devotees, they cite that, they say, so, we're all in Maya. We should all just go out and do Harinam on the streets, and that's the solution. And it is the solution. But my question comes, why didn't the devotees in Navadvip, who are eternal associates of the Lord, why didn't they do that? Rather, they locked themselves up in the room because they didn't have the strength to go out. Or maybe there was some law, they couldn't go out, or this. But it didn't stop them. It didn't stop that kirtan. They did that kirtan whatever way they could. And if we can go out, we should go out. And there are devotees, and I've been hearing it in Ukraine. Naranjan Maharaj is telling me, they're regularly going out in Harinam. But in some other places, they're not able to. But if we can't go out in Harinam, then come together and do kirtan here. And cry for Krishna and feel something in our hearts. And this is the solution. Okay? So, rather than talk about it, let's do it. We'd like to ask Agnidev Rrabhu. Srila Prabhupada K. Samaveda Bhaktavinda K. Premanande.
So, but this month is called, this is a vrat. Dhanada Vrata, Prabhupada called it, to sing Damodarastaka. So, I don't know all the words by heart, so I need somebody to... You have your phone with you? Come sit here and... He's getting on the phone. Even to see that, I need my glasses. Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam Lasatkundalam go Kule Brajamanam Ananda Rupam Dalam go Kule Brajamanam Namamisharam Sachit Ananda Rupam Lashat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yasoda Biyo Lukalat Dhavamanam Paramishtamadhyanta Tojuja Gopya Dantamur Netra Yugmam Rijantam Karamboja Yugmena Satyam Kanitram Muhu Swasa Kampa Tirekanka Kanta Stita Graiva Damodaram Bhakti Badam Shalilabir Ananda Kunde Swagosham Nimajantam Akyapayantam. Tadiyeshita Geshu Bhaktai Jitatam Una Prematastam Shatabriti Bande. Varam Deva Mokshamna Mokshavadimba Nachanyam Rineham Varishadapiha. Idam teva purnata gopala balam sadame manashyavi rastam kimanyai. Idam te mukham bhojam atyanta nilai Britam kuntalai snigda raktai shagopya. Muhushchumbitam bimba raktadarame manasya virastam alam lakshalavai. Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prashida Prabhu Dukha Jalavimagnam. Kripa Drishti Vristyati Dinam Bhatanu Rihanesha Mamagyam Edyaksi Drishya. Kuveratmajo Badha Mutyai Vayadrat Payamuchito Bhakti Bhajo Krito Cha. Tatha Prema Bhaktim Swakam Me Priyacha Namukshigraho Mesti Damodareha. Namaste Dani Puradipti Dani Hariyodarayata Vishakya Dani. Namo Radhikayai Tadiya Priyayai Namo Nanta Leelaya Devaya Tubhyam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Nityananda Mahajan. Nadiya Gujum Nityananda Mahajan. Patiya Nāma-haṭṭa Jivera Karan. Patiya Nāma-haṭṭa Jivera Karan. Nadiya Gujum Nityananda Mahajan. Nadiya Gujum Nityananda Mahajan. Patiya Nāma-haṭṭa Jivera Karan. Patiya Nāma-haṭṭa Jivera Karan. Shraddhavan jana he, Shraddhavan jana he. Shraddhavan jana he, Shraddhavan jana he. Prabhu aagai bai magiye bhiksha. Prabhu aagai bai magiye bhiksha. Bolo Krishna, bhajo Krishna, karo Krishna shikha. Bolo Krishna, bhajo Krishna, karo Krishna shikha. Aparad shunna hoilo Krishna naam. Aparad shunna hoilo Krishna naam. Krishna mata Krishna pita Krishna dana pran. Krishna mata Krishna pita Krishna dana pran. Krishna sangsara kari charitamrita. Krishna sangsara kari charitamrita. Vedaya Krishna nam sarva dharmata. Vedaya Krishna nam sarva dharmata. Nadiya Gujum Nityananda Mahajan. Patiya Nāma-haṭṭa Jivera Karan. Patiya Nāma-haṭṭa Jivera Karan. Hari Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Caitanya-charitamrita Sri Advaita Sita. Caitanya-charitamrita Sri Advaita Sita. Adi Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita. Adi Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Guru Nitai Gaur Sitanath Gaura Premanande. Haribol. Are we ready back in the kitchen? Okay. Bogaratik. We can sing Bogaratik. Bhakatavat Sala Sri Gaura Hari. Find it for me. Bhaja Bhakatavat Sala Sri Gaura Hari. Sri Gaura Hari Sahi Gosha Bihari. Sri Gaura Hari Sahi Gosha Bihari. Nanda Jasomati Chita Hari. Nanda Jasomati Chita Hari. Belholo Damodara Aishe Kana. Boga Mandire Baishe Karaha Bojana. Mandira Nideshe Baishe Giri Baradari. Baladeva Saha Sakha Baishe Sarisari. Shukta Shakari Bhaji Nalita Kushmanda. Dali dalna dugda tumbi dadi mocha kanda Dugda bora mash bora roti kagritana Shashkuli pishtaka kira kuli payakana Apura amrita kili rambakira shara Amrita rasalamra dvadasha prakara Nuchishini sarapuri ladura sabali Bhojana karena Krishna hoye kutuhali Radhikara pakkayana vivira vyanjana Paramayanande Krishna korena bhojana Chole bole laddu khai Sri Madhu Mangala Pagala bajayara deya hari bolo Radhikari gane heri nayane rakhone Tripta hoye kai Krishna Jasoda bhavane Bhojanante priye Krishna subhasita bari Sabe mukha prakalai oye sari sari Asamukha prakaliya jata sakha gane Anande Vishram kare Baladeva sane Jambula rasala ane Tambula masala Krishna Chandra Sugeni Dragela Kahake Krishna Chandra Vishalaka Shikhi Pucha Chamara Dulaya Apurva Sayaya Krishna Sugeni Dradaya Sumati Agnapeye Dhanishthayanito Sri Krishna Prasada Radha Bunje Haye Prito Lalitadi Sakya Gana Avashesha Paya Mane mane sukhe Radha Krishna guna gaya Hari lila ekamatra jahara pramoda Bhogarati gai thakur bhakati vinoda Bhagava Shiva Shri Gaura Hari Shri Gaura Hari. Shri Gaura Hari Sohi Gosha Bihari. Shri Gaura Hari Sohi Gosha Bihari. Nanda Jasumati Sita Hari. Nanda Jasumati Sita Hari. Vaja Govinda Govinda Gopala. Vaja Govinda Govinda Gopala. Govinda Govinda Gopala. Govinda Govinda Gopala. Giridhari Gopinath Nanda Dulala. Giridhari Gopinath Nanda Dulala. Giridhari Gopinath Nanda Dulala. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Katava Sri Gaura Hari. Katava Sri Gaura Hari. Katava Sri Gaura Hari. Sri Gaura Hari. So, I'll take this opportunity to say farewell to all you devotees, because I won't be here next Sunday. I'm leaving on Wednesday. No, Thursday, sorry. Thursday I'm leaving Mayapur Dhama. But you all are most fortunate because you're going to still be here. You know? If there's any place that's perfect for a lockdown, it's Mayapur. it really wasn't an inconvenience for me, because I did what I normally do. I did what I like to do. I like to chant with devotees. I got to do that every day. So, it was wonderful. People in America, they were telling me, I got a phone call once when it was like in the middle of it, and they said the president was arranging airplanes to bring any Americans in India back to America. And they said, you should go and sign up for that. I said, why? I said, don't you want to come back to America? I said, no. I said, this is the best place to be. So I think we're fortunate. I didn't plan this to stay this long. It wasn't my choice that I was here. I think it was by the arrangement of Lord Chaitanya. After all, this is his place. He is Mayapur Ishwara, the controller of Mayapur. So he decides who can stay, and so it's the longest time I've ever spent in India, and also the longest time I've ever spent in Mayapur. I appreciate it because I always kind of wondered what it's like in Mayapur after the festival. Because I'd been here like 6 or 7 times, but I would only spend 2 weeks. I'd come for, Gaur Purnima, and then I would go to Vrindavan and spend 2 weeks, and then I'd go back to the west. But I got the opportunity to be here when it's off season. But it's been wonderful. I got to know so many of you that I didn't know before. So, and I'll be back, though I don't know when, but I'll be back. Gaur Purnima is just around the corner, so I don't know if I can swing that. Maybe if not this Gaur Purnima, the next one. But I made some nice friends, and it made my stay here wonderful. People were wondering, how am I doing? I said, I'm doing fine. Because they don't understand, they have misconceptions about India. But here in the Holy Dham, it's another story altogether. In one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs on Sharanagati, it's the first song, he says, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kori Swaparshada Sri Adhama Sahaya Avatari. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with his parshadas, his nitya parshadas, eternal associates, and he also brought his dham. He came with his dham, Mayapur Dham. The land was here, but when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, it's special, significant. And why did he come? To teach. I mean, there are many reasons why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. There's esoteric reasons and there's other reasons. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says he came to teach Sharanagati, how to be a Sharanagata, how to be a surrendered devotee. Because this is what Krishna wanted. Krishna says, Sarvadhamam parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Same word. So Sharanagati is the process of surrendering. And how to do that? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a simple process, as Madhavananda Prabhu was saying, by song and dance and prasadam and katha, Krishna katha. We must have Krishna katha. Sometimes I've gone to places and people, I sing a song and then I want to say something about this song, and they tried to stop me and say, no talk, just sing. Just kirtan. I said, this talking, this is also kirtan. Srimad Bhagavatam is kirtan, the whole thing. Kirtan by Shukdev Goswami, kirtan by Prahlad Maharaj, kirtan by, we have to have a dynamic understanding of kirtan. It's not just singing. Of course, the verses in Bhagavatam, you can sing them also. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would listen every day to Gadadhar Pandit singing Srimad Bhagavatam verses and relished it. So we should adopt this. Like Prabhu was saying, if you can't go out on Sankirtan, Harinam, you can do it in groups. There's a statement by Krishna telling Narada that he says, I'm not in Vaikuntha and I'm not in the yogi's heart. The yogis are meditating on Krishna. He says, I'm not there. Where am I? Wherever my devotees are chanting. He says, I run away from those places and I come there. So Krishna is here when we chant. Anyway, it's time for prasadam. Don't want to hold anybody up too long. But for the next few days I'll still be here. So in the mornings you can come to Krishna Balaram temple downstairs on the first floor. We have, it's a nice celebration, greeting the deities, and Guru Puja for Srila Prabhupada, and Kirtan, and Tulsi Puja, everything. So, and in the evenings you can also come. So, Sarira Vidyaja Jodendriyata Eka Jivile Bishaya Sagore Tar Madhye Jivayati Gobhamoy Sudurmati Take Jeta Katina Sangsare Krishna Borodoyamoy Koribare Jiva Joy Swaprasadana Dilobai Sayanamrita Pai Radha Krishna Gunaga Premedako Caitanya-charitamrita. So, in order for the prasad to be served, there's another room also.
Young boys can go.
But they'll also form, those who are in this room should make rows facing each other. So we'll have 2 aisles,